A just keeps getting more terrifying, so let's dive into episodes 4 and 5 of Pretty Litle Liars, Original Sin, and find out just what happened. What's up, you little liars? Lisa here, and oh man, is there a lot to dive into with this week's double dose of Pretty Litle Liars Original Sin. Honestly, to me, every episode of this show so far is getting better, and I think it's just because it's got so much mystery, so many different theories and different little sections that we're trying to figure out that I just can't stop watching because I need to know what each character is hiding, and I feel like I even need to go back and rewatch because there's so many things where you could be pausing and reading what something says, and it's a lot. Now, I don't know if we're gonna get a lot of these answers by the end of the 10 episode first season, but I hope we do. Part of me really wants to know who A is, but then if you know who A is, how will that keep progressing throughout the show? I guess it worked for Gossip Girl, the new reboot of Gossip Girl, when they told you who Gossip Girl was to start, but I'm curious how that would work in this show. But I do know I need a season 2, and I'm kind of worried with all this weird WB Discovery HBO Max thing that's floating around, but that's a whole nother thing. I'm just hoping that this show gets to live on, because so far this first season is great. Now, before I get into everything that happened in these 2 episodes, I kind of forgot to do this my last recap video, but this is just a warning to let you know that this show does deal with topics like trauma, assault, self-harm, and other things, so that's going to be discussed in this video. I will say that I think all the girls are crushing it on this show. They're giving fierce yet vulnerable performances, but episode 4, I gotta say, Maya Rafiko, Noah, is a star. She's a track star. Get it? No, but she's also a star and just comes off as a total badass, and I like this character. Let's just dive into these 2 episodes and find out just what happened. Oh, and these episodes take place in the days leading up to Halloween and then end at this big Halloween party at Imogen's old house. Okay, so we have 2 1999 flashbacks in these 2 episodes. The first one in the 4th episode focuses on Noah's mom, Marjorie, and I am still trying to remember which mom is which and what name goes with what, and that's very confusing to me, but I'm gonna get there. But we have Marjorie, who we of course learned in the previous episodes is the one who's actually addicted to drugs that let her daughter Noah take the fall, and we see that this is pretty much a pattern for her. Back in high school, Marjorie pushed Angela into trying cigarettes, and when they got caught, Marjorie shoved those cigarettes in Angela's hands faster than you can say. I don't know. I forgot the analogy in my head. But basically there was no hesitation. She is super shady. Well, things catch up to Marjorie in present day because A finally pays a visit and leaves her a present, which is this beat up old bear with a Mother of the Year shirt with the A, of course, in red, holding a pill bottle that says addict. Why is that bear significant? Because back in 1999, to apologize to Angela for getting her in trouble, Marjorie gave her a bear just like that. With a different shirt, of course. Alright, so that's really the only mom who's kind of getting messed with by A in these 2 episodes. I have a feeling more is going to be coming for those moms as the season goes on. But we do learn that in this 4th episode, we are 2 weeks after the events of the previous episodes, and that A has actually left these girls alone for 2 weeks. But don't worry, they're back with a vengeance. But it's like, I kind of like it because it's toying with these girls. It's like giving them this break to think, oh, maybe it's over, but then you just hit them again and it's not over. Alright, let's first talk about Noah. Noah's finally getting her ankle monitor off soon. She's trying to get back in shape for track, but she's just not as fast as she used to be. But you know what can help with that? Being chased around by A and having to do parkour. But how do we get to that point in the story? Well, we have Sheriff Beasley, who is still hell-bent on making the girls' lives a living hell, and his easiest target is of course Noah. So he decides to do a random search of her house to look for drugs, and he finds some questionable pills in the bathroom, but we find out that they are just magnesium to help her sleep. But you see again just how quick Marjorie is to turn on anybody.
What are these?
They're not mine. They're magnesium.
Well, after the sheriff leaves, we see that Marjorie's kind of like looking at her purse or clutching it or something. I think she's looking at it, and Noah becomes suspicious. She eventually checks her mom's bag and finds that her mom is using again and stealing Oxy from the hospital. And did you catch who those pills belong to? None other than Caleb Rivers. That's right, Caleb, we gotta wonder what brings you to Millwood. Also, how did you get hurt that you need this Oxy? Now, we haven't gotten a ton, as far as my brain can see, of actual original Pretty Little Liars Easter eggs in the show so far. This is the first one I caught, and I do think there was a preview clip at some point of Imogen saying she needed to go to Rosewood, so I think we're going to get more Easter eggs as things happen, but it was kind of fun to see Caleb's name there. Alright, but back to Noah. So one night, Noah decides to order pizza, and well, she ends up getting chased by A through her apartment building. She manages to jump to the other side to another building, but of course, if she moves a little bit, her ankle monitor starts to go off because that's like right on the cusp. She has to move like right to the edge of the building so it stops going off. She's basically just like at her wit's end. She asks A what they want, and we actually get to hear a voice.
Punish the guilty.
The guilty? Who's guilty?
Now we gotta wonder, is this actually A's voice? Is A male, or are they using a voice changer? A's also super tall, and we'll see later in these 2 episodes, super strong. So who is this A person? But A's got Noah trapped, and she basically has no other choice. She calls her mom's work and turns in her mom, and then informs the girls that A is back. Now we don't actually in these 2 episodes see what happens to like Marjorie. We don't know if she gets arrested or what. Maybe they'll address that in episode 6. Alright, let's move on to what's going on with Imogen in these 2 episodes. So she's still on her quest to figure out how her mom is connected to Angela Waters and why no one will tell her anything. She's even tried calling out to old classmates of her moms, but they'll call her back and then realize someone wants to talk about Angela, and they're basically like, we don't know anything, they hang up. Imogen is also basically testing Sydney, Tabby's mom's, limits, as we get to see Sydney do everything to kind of get Imogen to drop this quest as well. In addition, Sydney has an offer from somebody on Imogen's old house, so Imogen has to go clean it out, and we get some flashbacks of Imogen remembering things like her and her mom first moving in, some fun times, but also some tough times, like Imogen telling her mom she was pregnant. Now, Imogen's house is very creepy, especially the basement. When you have to leave a flashlight on the wall for people to use to go into the basement because the one switch up top doesn't work, the only switch that works is like at the bottom, I think you should get that fixed. That's a clear sign to never go down any of these basements. But when Imogen hears a noise, she starts to go down to the basement, and we see that A is creepily hanging out in the basement behind the stairs, all It style, and we see that there's this like weird box of dolls or something, and that is very A-like. But before Imogen can like snoop too much, she hears the couple who made an offer on the house outside, and of course Imogen gets them to take back their offer by just kind of casually letting them know that someone was murdered in the house, which of course pisses Sydney off even more. We end up learning that Davy was in a lot of debt, so they gotta figure out something to do. They either have to sell this house or, you know, something has to happen where Imogen can keep the house. Well, the girls decide to help Imogen pack up, and Imogen then decides that she wants to try to communicate with Davy with this old Ouija board she's found. So the girls help her out, but it more ends up just being an outlet for Imogen to get her feelings out about her mom, because she's feeling some type of way about her mom, kind of being like, why did you abandon me? She hates her at this point. Then Imogen kind of remembers also something her mom said about keeping a diary or a journal. So Imogen goes searching for Davy's journals or diaries and finds some, including one from senior year, but there are tons of pages ripped out, and the pages that are still there have no mention of Angela. So she's thinking, we gotta search this house. We cannot let this house go because there's so much we need to find here. Something is hidden here. So the girls basically go searching through this house to find these diary pages, and they end up finding some of what look like burnt pages in the fireplace. But that could be a decoy, right? But they're basically thinking that these ripped pages have the key to Angela. So how can Imogen keep the house? She doesn't have a lot of money saved up. Well, they decide to kind of throw this huge Halloween party and charge admission for food and drink. They basically just have to have enough to make a couple payments, and then maybe Imogen can get a job and continue to keep making these payments. Although, is she going to live in this house by herself? That seems like a lot of work, but I know that they have to be snooping in this house. They need this house to stay in their property. They got to stall for a little while. Now, during this huge Halloween party, Imogen gets a call from someone about Angela, but she can't really hear, so the call drops. The next day after the party, the person calls back. It is a male voice. They say they should meet up, and the guy basically says, Angela's family or something?
Did you know them? Angela and my mom?
I did. Angela's family, too. We should meet.
Yeah, a little fishy, but also, did Imogen kind of like hang up before she got any info? I don't know, but I have a feeling that Imogen should not be going to this meeting alone. but I have a feeling she probably will. Alright, next up, let's talk about Tabby. So we get more into the realization that she has been assaulted at this party in the woods. Now, she again has planted a camera in the locker room and she goes to get it, and she has to hide because Tyler and Greg come walking in, and she kind of overhears them, of course, talking horribly about this girl named Trish and what they did to her, what one of them did to her. It's disgusting, but this is definitely just, fueling Tabby into thinking that it was one of these football players that assaulted her. Now in film class, Tabby and Chip team up for their assignment in which they decide to recreate the shower scene from Psycho, and Tabby wants to turn it on its head, put it in the female gaze, so instead of Norman Bates killing Marion, Marion kills Norman Bates who's in the shower. So for her cast, Tabby gets Faran to play Marion, and they enlist Greg to play Norman Bates, the victim. Well, because Tabby needs a guy who isn't shy and loves just being objectified, and well, that just describes Greg to a T. So to film this, they plan on breaking into the school late at night to film in the locker room. They need a shower, of course, and also I feel like Tabby maybe wants to snoop around this locker room, or maybe she just casts Greg because she wants to determine if he knows anything about her attacker, or maybe he is the attacker. So the night that they go to film in the locker room, Tabby films Faran's coverage, then goes to film Greg, and she starts to get pretty intense describing to Greg the direction about the backstory and whatnot, and when she mentions slipping something into someone's drink and all of this seems to actually freak Chip out.
Maybe she even slipped something into your drink. You're vulnerable. A damsel in distress.
I'm gonna need like 5.
5 and we'll go.
I kind of get that this talk can make anybody uncomfortable, but Chip has been kind of acting a little sus for a while. He has these glances and whatever that just make him look like he knows something that maybe he shouldn't, or maybe he's done something, or something like that. Like, I know that he likes Tabby, but I'm still suspect of Chip. Anyway, after they take a break, they get back to filming, but then Greg goes too far and ignores Tabby's rules of a safe set and gets naked, and it triggers Tabby, so she has to leave. And then outside, she sees the woods and it's flashbacks to the party. And yeah, when she finally is able to go back into the locker room, we find that Chip has actually finished filming the scenes and Tabby pretends that it's fine. But later when she's watching the footage, we realize she's not so fine with it. She then gives Chip the cold shoulder at school until he talks to her, and she explains that him taking over basically invalidated the purpose of this whole entire project because it was supposed to be from the female gaze, so Chip apologizes and says that he was just trying to help. Well, later at the Halloween party, after a fight with Tyler, which I'll talk about later, Tabby and Chip talk, and Chip lets her know that he got them an extension on the project so they can do reshoots. Then he offers to be the new Norman Bates. We also see Tabby go to the theater to get her last paycheck, and Wes calls her out for ghosting him, but then Tabby puts this man in his place, thankfully.
Wes, you used the flash drive as leverage to lure me to your place. What you did was really fucked up, triggering.
But then Wes, of course, is able to use his manipulation skills and apologize and whatever, and basically beg Tabby to come back to work for the theater and take her job back, which Tabby does, but I have a feeling Sydney's not going to like that, so I'm sure Tabby's going to lie about working at the theater. Alright, let's move on to Mouse, whose storyline is like the weirdest of all and sort of uncomfortable, but also the most intriguing. So we know that Mouse has suffered some kind of childhood trauma. We just haven't been told exactly what that is yet. We know her moms are super overprotective, so something happened as a child and they're trying to keep her a kid still. We sort of start to get a sneak peek into why, maybe? So Ash and Mouse are still hanging out. Ash invites Mouse to the Spectrum Club, but Mouse still doesn't seem like she's ready to go there yet. So instead, Ash is like, what are you doing for Halloween? Maybe we can hang out. Now, of course, Mouse says her moms think Halloween is too dangerous, but you can tell Ash is a keeper because he offers to come hang out with her and pass candy out. Yeah, this impresses Mouse, so Mouse is like, let me see if I can just sneak out. Here's where things start to get super weird. We see that when Mouse is at home, she's chatting with an older guy named Steve on the computer. She's using this mouse filter, but that's kind of weird since we see later she actually meets him in person, so he knows her face. But anyway, Mouse talks to this Steve guy about meeting up and him taking her trick-or-treating because she's never been. And Steve talks about how this girl Rachel loved trick-or-treating and whatnot. We then see that Mouse has this stack of missing posters next to her, and the top one is someone named Rachel Bowers. So we also learn that Mouse is the one that's reaching out to Steve. So from this missing poster, we can't tell if it's the same poster in that whole stack or a bunch of different missing kid posters, but most of the information on this top poster is blurred out. But we see that Rachel was basically about 11 when she went missing in 2020, about 2 years prior. So, yeah, this is not some kind of creepy dating thing that you kind of thought it could be at first. What it seems to be is that Mouse is meeting up with parents of kids who went missing, and basically we see that she cosplays as Rachel for Steve that night on Halloween, wearing a costume that she would have worn. She's sort of just being the surrogate daughter, helping Steve cope with his trauma. But how was Mouse even able to get out of the house to go meet Steve in the first place? Well, we see that she was able to have a harsh negotiation with the moms and get them to let her go out to a Halloween party with Ash, without, of course, really telling them what she's doing.
Mom, I just want to be a normal 15-year-old.
Yeah, so this reaction just leans more into what trauma happened to Mouse, or even to the moms that make them want to keep her a little girl. But yeah, like I said, we see Mouse go out with Steve, but there's like this moment in the car where Steve asks to drive Mouse to this party, and then we see Steve basically sort of break down and apologize to Mouse as Rachel for what happened, and Mouse kind of forgive him. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'll get to theories about that later, but we have Mouse finally showing up to this party late. She's blocked the mom's numbers, who are texting and calling her up the wazoo, and Mouse hangs out with Ash. They get a little closer. It seems like they'd definitely be a cute couple, and I think people are calling them MASH, which is actually kind of cute. But as you can imagine, when Mouse returns home, her moms are livid. The thing is, though, if these moms were so overprotective like it seems like they are, why wouldn't they have, sent the police out looking for Mouse? Or found out about the party and just come and busted it up? Maybe one of the moms seems to be a little more lenient, not as uptight, talk the other one down and just letting Mouse have this night and that they would deal with her later. I don't know. But Mouse basically says she needed a night for herself and then says this.
And I know that what happened was scary for everybody, but it happened to me, and I feel like I'm constantly being punished for it. Even years later, he's gone. He's never coming back.
Okay, so there's a new part of this mystery. Who is he? We then see Mouse print off a picture of her with Steve and put it in the box, and in this box, which is a Mickey Mouse box, are a bunch of pictures. Now, from some of the things that I mentioned before, it seems like Mouse has actually done this multiple times, playing surrogate missing child for many parents, fathers, and mothers. I'm guessing she's maybe working through the stack of papers. I don't know why she's doing this. Maybe this is helping her deal with being abducted, or maybe this is her way of, helping herself get closure as well as other people get closure. I don't know. I have a lot of questions that I need to learn more about that. Now, the last person to focus on is Faran, who is suspicious of Kelly. Just like we as viewers are thinking maybe Karen didn't actually die, but it was Kelly, and now Karen is pretending to be Kelly, or something like that. Farron's starting to think that too. Now, first, Faran sees that Kelly is switching lockers to Karen's locker. Kelly says that she dislikes Karen's locker better. Then Madame Giry tells Faran that since Karen's gone, Farron's now the Black Swan again, and she'll be dancing with Henry. But to get her back up to speed, she wants Faran to do some one-on-one sessions with Kelly, who, when Faran asks to work with Henry instead, Madame Giry says that Kelly has dedicated herself to Swan Lake since Karen died, so she's going to work with Kelly. Now, at their one-on-one practice, Kelly's kind of like, sorry you have to do this with me. I know that, I'm not as good of a dancer as you. And when Faran brings up Karen's rudeness, suggesting that Faran only got the Black Swan role because, well, she's black, Kelly scrambles and tries to defend Karen. And then things get awkward when Kelly says something that, again, has Faran questioning who is who.
I'll just go do my thing, and you just be a queen, girl. You just be a queen, girl.
Kelly then tattles to Henry about what Faran said to her, which causes Henry to stick up for Kelly, but he too says something that's interesting.
While you were in detention, I worked with Kelly every day, and she's gotten better. A lot better. Almost like I'm dancing with Karen again.
Alright, well, Faran decides to be the bigger person and apologizes to Kelly, and then talks about how she read that twins, are able to sometimes feel things when something happens to the other twin, and then points out that Kelly's wearing Karen's leotard, which is a little weird, and Kelly immediately changes the subject. Then when Faran is about to tell Tabby about her theory about this switcheroo, she gets cut off, so Faran goes and scours Kelly's Facebook page and is reminded of the razor blades in the ballet shoes. She then meets with Henry and finally tells him her theory about Karen being Kelly and whatever it is, and that she needs Henry to offer to give Kelly a foot rub to see if there are scars on her feet. Faran says that if there are no scars, she'll let this whole thing go. Well, it turns out that Kelly does have scars on her feet, but Henry's basically like, there are tons of ways that someone could have scars on their feet, but Faran thinks she's winning. So she tries to tell Madame Giry about this theory, but Madame Giry shuts her down, letting her know that Kelly has had a past of self-harm. but Faran doesn't think Kelly would do that to the soles of her feet. But basically, Madame Geary tells Faran to drop it. Of course, Faran doesn't and meets with Kelly at the pizza place and decides on a different approach. Kelly then says she can't stop thinking of the night of the dance and everything, and that's when Faran notices the cut on Kelly's hand. We saw her get that cut the night her parents were fighting when she crushed the broken piece of glass in her hand. This makes Faran change her tune after she realizes that maybe Kelly does hurt herself, and so instead she decides to be nice and invites Kelly to the Halloween party, and it seems like maybe Faran will drop this whole thing. But then at the Halloween party, Faran sees Kelly and Greg making out, and it just sets Faran off, who then confronts Kelly again. And then once again we see Kelly call Faran something that Karen always called Faran.
Girl, look, whatever you're thinking, you're wrong. There's that word again. You know who used to call me girl? Karen.
And now Faran really goes off, accusing Kelly of being Karen. Now A is watching this all go down, of course. Kelly is like, is it just hard to believe that Kelly, that she could be as talented and popular as Karen? But Faran brings up that someone pushed whoever it was up in those rafters that night and that they could be after her, but Kelly is just basically like, stay away from me. We then learn that Kelly has once again gone and tattled to Madame Geary about what happened, and once again Faran is kicked out of the ballet and she's not allowed to talk to Kelly. We then see Kelly tell her mom that she's going to be the lead in this ballet, and her mom says this.
That's wonderful, Karen.
Mama, I told you, I'm Kelly. Remember? Let's get you your medication.
Interesting, right? Well, I will get back to those theories in a minute after I talk about what's up with A, but that clip right there about, the mom calling Kelly Karen has a lot of people thinking different things. Okay, but let's talk about A, who is back. They terrorized Noah and got her to turn her mom in. They sent a creepy bear to Marjorie, Noah's mom. Then A's creeping around in Imogen's basement. Now, Halloween night, we see A unlock the door to Imogen's basement and go in. They then open a chest, or a trunk, which is a trunk that Tabby almost went to open up, and then, she got called upstairs before she could take a look at it. Well, inside this trunk is a bunch of stuff, including a pumpkin mask. This mask is the same mask from the flashback Halloween night of 1999 that we saw at the beginning of episode 5, when the moms, as teens, pretended like they were going to initiate Angela into their group. All Angela had to do was throw a bag of poop at someone's house. Well, Angela puts this pumpkin mask on to hide her identity and does it, but of course the girls drive off laughing, abandoning her as the people in the house say they're going to call the cops. Now I'll get into more about that trunk in a bit, but we have A roaming around this party in the pumpkin costume. They have a run-in with Imogen when they try to go into the upstairs bathroom that's off limits because it's the bathroom where Davy died. Then A overhears Faran yelling at Kelly. Then we have a fight between Tabby and douchebag Tyler. Tyler, the guy who recorded the video of Karen drunk at that party. He's very much the poster child for toxic masculinity and misogyny, and he's the absolute worst. And it's kind of sad to know that there are guys that think and talk like this out in the world. Anyway, Tyler actually tries to hit on Mouse and then goes and gets a drink and insists that she drink it as Greg walks up and the whole Smurf football crew. And well, the whole drink thing sets Tabby off, and she goes off on them and also yells at Greg for breaking their safe set agreement, saying that what he did was assault. So this yelling between Tabby and Tyler and Greg goes back and forth until Tabby ends up punching Tyler in the nose. And violence shouldn't be the answer, right? But you can't tell me that Tyler wasn't asking for this and that he didn't deserve it. Well, of course, A is watching this whole thing, and we have Tyler going up to the bathroom he's not supposed to go into to clean up his nose. And well, there's a reason you don't go into that bathroom, Tyler. We see A walk in and, well, kill Tyler. And I still have a feeling that maybe A killed Davy too, that Davy didn't kill herself, but I don't know. We then see A change and then go and put Tyler's body in their van, and it's like, bye-bye Tyler, but also, holy crap, A is freaking super strong. Alright, then these two episodes end with Imogen and Tabby basically confiding to each other that they have both been assaulted. But I gotta say, those were another action-packed 2 episodes, and these theories, they just keep coming. The first one, let's talk about Kelly and Karen, this whole thing. I kind of like how I feel like we're getting this 50-50 of it leaning towards Karen, then it's leaning towards Kelly, and then it's just going back and forth. And it seems like most of you on my TikTok and YouTube are all in on the theory that Kelly is the one who was killed and Karen's now pretending to be Kelly. I am one of those who's still maybe leaning towards the opposite. Now, many have mentioned that the actress who plays Karen and Kelly, Mallory, that she has said in various interviews how she plays the characters differently, whether it's about the shoes or how she holds her mouth when the character is listening. I feel like those are just such dead giveaways that why would they let her say all this stuff? With twins, you obviously knew that we were going to be watching, very closely. We knew from the trailer, I think, that one of the twins died. So I feel like they had to know that we would be watching little body movements. That stuff just seems like it would have given it away too far. Also, the whole scar thing, definitely a good call on Faran's part, but also I feel like it is true that do dancers have scars on their feet from various things? I feel like they would, but I'm not a dancer, so I don't know. But what's interesting is how I interpreted the scene of Kelly and her mom differently than a lot of others. Like, we each thought something different. So when Kelly is called Karen by her mom, then Kelly goes to get her mom's medicine. I took this scene as this is actually Kelly, and she's still invisible to her parents, because we didn't get a lot of Kelly and Karen together with their parents. We did get that one scene, and it seemed like they focused on the dad focused on Karen and telling her, maybe she's not good enough. It seems like they put a lot of pressure on Karen and maybe Kelly was invisible. That was just my interpretation of it. But I took the scene as being like Kelly's still feeling like she's invisible to her parents because her mom calls her Karen. Her mom is still thinking of Karen. It doesn't care that Kelly got the lead role. Now, my thinking for Kelly is that Kelly's fine with Karen being gone because maybe now she thinks she can have Karen's life in ways that she'll be the popular one. People will notice her. They'll think she's good at things because she is good at things. They won't always focus on Karen and whatever. But things aren't really going to seem that way, as, we see that Kelly begins to do these manipulative acts like Karen would, tattling and getting herself the lead role in the ballet. But when she sees that things aren't changing exactly, maybe she's defeated by the mom calling her Karen. But on TikTok, a lot of you left me comments saying that you had the opposite opinion. You're very much on the train that Karen is pretending to be Kelly, that a mother would have to know, right, how to tell the twins apart, even though we've seen that these girls are so good at switching places, that Imogen, who was supposedly their best friend, can't tell them apart, the principal can't tell them apart, all these things. So you took it as the mom calling Kelly Karen, a sign that the mom knows that is actually Karen, and that Karen is maybe keeping this mom drugged up so she won't tell anybody. Honestly, like I said, I can see both sides, and I love that. I love that we could be pulled in either direction here. I have to wonder, though, why would Karen even want Kelly's life? Now, as far as the whole Tabby situation, I am still leaning towards Chip either knowing who assaulted her or being the one who assaulted her. Also, could Chip be A or working with A? Some of you think that. One of the commenters on my TikTok pointed out that besides the death of Davy and the janitor, A has only killed Karen and Tyler, both people who bullied and were awful to the 5 girls. Now, A's text said 1 down, 5 to go when it came to bullies, so the girls thought it was them, but maybe it's not the 5 girls. Maybe he's actually just going after people who are harming them. Also, with this Chip theory, we see how much that Chip cares about Tabby. Now, if you notice at the party, since Tyler messed with Tabby and Chip conveniently left the party before the Tyler incident, could Chip have changed into A and come back and gone after Tyler for hurting Tabby? Another popular A theory seems to be Creepy Wes, Tabby's boss at the theater, who could be maybe related to Angela. Now we know Wes is older, he's out of college. He could be a younger brother who maybe changed his name, but when Wes was in the car with Tabby, we saw A show up and he saw A, so if that's the case, could it be like the Scream thing where there are 2 killers? Some people seem to think that maybe Wes and Chip could be working together. As far as this whole mouse thing, like I said, that's the one that still confuses me. In interviews, they have said that the big mouse episode is episode 7, which is coming next week, so we're going to learn a lot more about that. Now, the key line in this episode was Mouse saying he's gone and he's never coming back. We see that she's named Minnie. The box that she's keeping all these pictures in is a Mickey box. A TikTok commenter pointed out that it was the Mickey box. Maybe she had a brother. That's kind of an interesting theory, right? What if she had a brother, they both got abducted and the brother died? Or maybe the brother is the one who actually got abducted and Mouse got free? Or is the he that Mouse is referring to her father? We don't know if Mouse is adopted or biological or that whole situation. Now, the birth date on the missing poster and the credits is also still very weird and throwing me off. There's still this theory that maybe Mouse is pretending to be a kid because her parents won't let her grow up. Maybe she is not really a 15-year-old, or maybe she is a 15-year-old. I don't know. I got lots of questions, and I need to hear your thoughts about Mouse's storyline. Okay, so the mystery of Angela. Some people think Angela's not dead, which I honestly think could be possible. We know on these shows, unless you see that final body getting buried, even then, You never know. Do we think there are two A's? One's the mastermind and one's the physical embodiment? Or should we suspend belief and think that anyone could be in that A costume, just kind of like how the original show did, where sometimes this so-called A was a male and sometimes it was a female. You know, you had Mona, you had Toby, and then you finally had, you know, I don't want to ruin the show if you haven't watched the original show, but whatever. But the hooded figure always looked the same. It's like, honestly, are we to believe that Angela could lift up and kill Tyler like that? I have read some theories of people thinking maybe Angela had a baby and it's this baby coming back, but how would the baby know anything about what happened to Angela unless they started to dig into maybe diaries? Did Angela have diaries and this is how A in the first place even knows anything? When you go back and look in that first episode, Angela did not look pregnant at all when she died. Now, some seem to think that Sheriff Beasley, because of his build and stuff, similar to A, could be A, but would he kill his own daughter? Others have also mentioned the principal, which I could kind of see too. Alright, so someone else on TikTok pointed out that maybe A's trunk is in Imogen's basement because that's Angela's old house. Now, the person also pointed out that the title of this 5th episode is The Night He Came Home, suggesting that A used to live in this house. That could explain why their trunk is in this house. But the trunk in the basement, it has an Army Reserve sticker on it. What if Angela had an older brother that came home from the Army and found out, you know, what happened to his sister and wants revenge? And maybe this so-called A actually has the missing pieces from Davy's diary and they weren't burnt in the fire and those were decoy pages. But anyway, in that trunk we see a lot of things. We see the bear, which I'm guessing is the original bear that Marjorie gave Angela. So was the bear that Marjorie was sent just a similar one? We also see stuff like a picture of the moms as a teen. We see some things like a toothbrush, the pumpkin mask. We see some current things like the ticket for the Jordan Peele double feature. There's interestingly a poem that's called The Night by Henry Vaughn hanging up in there. The name Henry, we have a Henry in this show, the dance guy. Could Henry be somebody of interest? We also have a photo of Angela, and also there's a photo next to that of two kids. From what it looks like a boy and maybe a little girl, a brother and a sister maybe. Could that lean into this whole brother theory? I couldn't really make out much else in that trunk. It's very hard to blow that stuff up and have it still be clear. But yeah, I feel like this video is getting way too long. I have so many thoughts and theories of this episode, but yeah, these episodes always just leave me with more questions. I know, what do y'all think about episodes 4 and 5? Did you get any more clues into who you think A is? What about Kelly and Karen? Let me know all your thoughts and theories down below, and after that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because I'll be here breaking this stuff down every week, and also check out more of my videos right over here. But as always, my name's Lisa. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Sorry this video got so long, and I'll see you next time.